If your learning curve for Darktable has felt steep, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that have this problem with it because it is, outside of the norm of what Lightroom and other things are that we're used to, or Capture One. So today I want to talk about how we're going to make this easier and less frustrating for you to navigate Darktable and how to edit things, and I'll show you how I made my workflow the way it is, and you can create your own one from that. And something to also note is that I did make a beginner video last year, but since then I've learned quite a bit in that year, troubleshooting with things, and this just kind of builds upon that and kind of smooths things out a bit more and gets you more understanding of how to navigate it easier and more Lightroom-like, I guess, but it does have ways you can customize it, and we'll talk about that. Let's just go ahead and start it by just showing you how to add the photos to your collection, and we'll go through culling and all that to begin with. So whenever you want to start this out, the thing with it on Windows that I kind of struggled with for a little bit was just that you add a custom place. So whenever you hit add to library, it'll open up this window, and then you'll go here to this plus button above or right next to places or above the areas here. Once you click plus, you can select the drive or whatever folder specifically that you want to have it have access to, and then click open. Once you've done that, you'll see that it's now on that drive, and then you have access to the folders underneath it. So in my case, I want to go look for something in here, and let's say I just want to do November. It'll show me all of the raw files in here. If you uncheck this, it'll add JPEGs, which in this case I was shooting JPEG and raw, and it's all on here, but that's if you have those JPEGs on there and you want to do something with them, then that's how you get to see them. Now if you want to see any previews, click this eye up here and it'll load previews for you for each one of the photos. So that way you can go ahead and deselect anything you already don't want to add, or let's say you actually had two separate shoots on one card and you throw them all into one thing, then you can just add it from here. But we're going to go ahead and add all these to the library. And now that we have them all here, you can see that all of them are set as 1 star, and we haven't called anything. So if you hit Control A, it will select everything, and then if you hit F, it'll put it full screen, and it'll go over to the one that's your mouse is already moused over. Now through this, you can't add any colors to these, but you can do star levels. So say you would go through these and say you wanted to do these from the full screen to the star level, then you would just go through and add stars to things. So I'll just do it easily for me. I'm just going to go from the beginning here. So we're going to add 3 stars here, 3 stars here, 3 stars here, and then 2 here, just so I can show you how you can add both of these together so you can see both of the specifications. And then if you hit escape, it'll bring you back to this view. Now, whenever you want us to see the 2 star and 3 star, if you hit 2 like that right there, it'll show you where it's on the second one. And then if you hit shift and then click the 3, it'll give you the 3 stars. So that way you'll only have these selected. And if you hit Control A, it'll select all of them for you. And let's say we split these up and we want them 2 different colors. So first I'll left click this one, then shift left click this one. It'll add 3 of those in the selection, and you can click whatever color. So we'll just make these yellow, and then I'll do this, left click, shift, same thing, and then I'll give it green. So now they have a dot at the bottom right hand corner, as you can tell right here, and then you see these right here. So let's say we had every one of the star rating photos on here, and then we wanted to see just the yellow. Then we go right here, we see those, and let's say we just wanted to see green, then we would do this. You'd have to uncheck the yellow because they can't do it together unless you click this right here, and it'll well, first we've got to click both of them, and then we can have them kind of paired together, and that way you can see all of those. And one other thing that I guess I failed to mention whenever you went full screen is make sure if you want to switch between photos, you can use the left and right arrow key, just like as you would expect. But the difference between lighttable and darkroom within this program is they don't use the same key for that. So whenever you go and you want to have that, you can actually change your global preferences. Whenever you do that, though, you're going to need to click this gear icon up here in the top right. And then go to shortcuts. And then views. And which one you're looking at is going to be darkroom because that's the one that is a little bit odd in how it does it. So the default is backspace. But if I want to go on the back one, I'm going to hit the left arrow key. So the only way to change that is to double click this. You see how it kind of goes gray? And then you give it that command like the left. But if you already have it in there and you do it, it'll remove it. So don't do that. So I'm going to click no on this one. But that's how you change that to give you the left and right option. And one last thing within lighttable I think we need to go over is you can actually copy information from one to another. So if you made some edits on something, say you liked how this photo was edited, you hit copy and then you click over here and you click paste, and it would paste the same attributes from that photo to the next. And there's another way to kind of do this, making a style, though I haven't gotten really good at doing that, so I'm going to look into it a little bit more, but these are the things I've found so far I find really helpful. So I believe that's about it, besides the exporting, which also can get people tripped up some as well. Make sure that you choose the file name, and you'll need to choose the folder you want it to go into, by telling it where to go. So we'll just say we want it here, or like lemonade stand or something like that as the output. And then after you found that, then you're going to go here. You would probably not choose any of these other formats unless you have a specific need for it. So leave it at JPEG 8-bit. Don't try 10-bit or 12-bit or something like that. Yeah, 12-bit. One other thing that tripped me up on something that I had to re-edit about 800 photos for, just because they were low image quality, is because right here when you set the size, that's what it sets itself as a default. Whenever you set size, you actually want to do it by scale for the file, so that way it sets it the same size as your original file, so that way it'll have high quality. If you do it the other way, you're going to end up having grainy photos and other problems. So just make that as a pretty good mental note that you need to check that each time you come in here to do this. I believe that about does it for me in lighttable as far as the things that I found that were really helpful, so I hope that helps. Now let's move on to darkroom. Okay, now that we're in darkroom, let's talk about what kind of editing this is, and it's a little bit different than what you would consider for Lightroom, because Lightroom does it in a display referred model rather than a scene referred model. So what scene referred is, it's it's using linear light data from your camera, and it often looks flat, dark, and has low contrast, as you can see here. And that it's just something that it keeps the raw data intact as long as possible before we expose it to a display. So that's why it uses a side-loaded file, which is XMP, which just stores the data that is for the edit. Okay, so it doesn't actually modify the actual raw file, it just has a side-loaded file that is referred to it, that whenever it gets exported, it adds to it. So I hope that kind of explains why it does this and why it has scene refer. Now, so whenever you have these tools, you're going to have some options to begin with at the top right over here, right under the histogram. If you look, you can actually see there's a few. One says beginner, display referred, scene referred. I do workflow scene referred, so if you want to do display referred, you can. But so what we're doing here is I've already got one set up, and I had a test one before, but if you want to make one, you would go to that right here and manage your presets. And then you would go to new if you want to make a new one. We'll just go ahead and make one. And you know, add your tools, you would go here to the add group, and you'd have to do it for each one. So each time you do it, you have to put something else back in here. So you have to keep going back to the plus button. So that's if you want to make your own. I'm going to go ahead and remove this one. It was just for, you know, getting to display it for you. So now that we've set it up for just this one where I say this is the essential stuff that I like. So first, we're going to go ahead and frame our scene here. So if it looks like it's off, which it looks like it may be, you can use this drop in right here. You can make a line. You can see how it's, you know, a little slanted. So we're going to adjust it to where it looks straight. And then you click that off, and you can kind of see how it added these like black sections to the outside of the image. What we need to do now is we actually need to go to crop, and we'll have to pull it in to get those out of the picture. And that should bring it in there. And I know it's still not completely flat. It's just something I wanted to show how I do this. So once you got the framing how you like it, then you're going to start out with the exposure, kind of expose it how you think it should look. Don't do too much, because then you'll start introducing noise, and then you'll have to adjust for that later on as well. And you can do black level correction, you know, if you've got stuff crushed out. So if you look at like your peaking here, you can see a lot of the white stuff is kind of peaked out, which we'll work on later. But if you click on this little button down here, it will show you where you're clipping, I guess, sorry, not peaking. But where you're clipping out, and you're losing all information in that area. Alright, and then you'll do color calibration, so it may not be completely set to the right white balance, so then if you click on that and turn it on, which I've done this photo before, but if you click on this little dropper here next to the adaptation area, and then you would end up clicking over here. It'll give you a bigger box, but you can actually drag it to make it smaller to kind of fit where you want it to show that this is my white reference. And then you can change the, you know, the hue and everything from there. Then you would go through AGX and try to adjust maybe some, you know, white relative points, and if you don't want as much contrast there, turn some of the black exposure. You can change it to relative and just keep adjusting as you see fit here. So I would say like doing this in this order is just, you know, helpful. And then tone equalizer, that's used for like fixing dynamics range. It does have a high impact on the image, so be careful with how you adjust it and where. And you can go over it like I am here, where you can see like my mouse is kind of turned to like a little crosshair. So whenever you go over something, it'll tell you like where it is and where it'll adjust. And so if you like scroll up, it will increase the brightness, and you just, you know, you would adjust it wherever. And then whenever we get the local contrast, so that will actually add depth to the photo, so you can add some detail, might make it look a little bit sharper, get some highlights to maybe sharpen up, and then we'll use the contrast equalizer in order to fix any like fine texture control. So you can go right here, drag it down if you want to make it a little smoother, coarse, you know, throw things in here, adjust as you will for some texture control here. And some of these are optional at the end, but Velvia, it helps with you know, adding some more contrast to the midtones, so you can add more like color to it. And I still don't think I fixed, well, it is gone, but look, now we've got other ones clipping in the dark areas. So I mean, I would obviously do some finer adjustments through some of this, but I'm just showing what I would do. And then monochrome, obviously you can see what that does. And then, you know, at the end, let's say you are doing monochrome, you want to add some grain, you would just adjust this, maybe add some coarseness, go strength with it. You can kind of see how it adds more to it, and I can zoom in, show you a little bit more. And we'll just turn it off for now, and the monochrome. We'll just fit it back to the normal. And then vignetting, of course, I'm sure you understand what that is, but we'll go ahead and show so you can adjust it how you want to. Horizontal center, move it back and forth, the shape of the actual thing here. We can do it inward. And you can, change it from these. I think you could even do it from the sides here. I haven't really used this very much, but if I wanted to, that's why I have it there, just in case I want to. And we'll just turn it back off, but that's just to kind of display it. That you may want to know about, just because I was talking about the noise a minute ago, is if you wanted to add, like, let's see, where is it in here? Denoise. You would just add that one, and then could smooth things out depending on, if you have high ISO and you're trying to change it to where it works better. But doing this stuff in the correct order kind of helps you develop the image in a more professional way. I've used this on a couple different professional shoots, and I will say that this is definitely a workable program for that. And it just takes a learning curve. There is a bit of a understanding on how to use this workflow, and it is frustrating because whenever I was in my worst time, I had like 800 photos that I had edited in the wrong resolution and had to go back through and redo them because I didn't save a lot of the edits on them. So just something to look out for. Make sure that you're always checking your settings before you export. And I know I'm still fairly novice to this. Only having it for a year is not enough really to understand how this thing works entirely. So there's a couple things that actually I'm going to work on later, which is going to be doing the drawn mask and parametric masks, and the drawn and parametric masks, because that way you can change it on certain things. Now, wouldn't do it in color calibration necessarily, but just for other things, maybe like the local contrast would be a more of a specific one. And one of the other things I think is pretty interesting, and because you can make your own presets like you can with Lightroom, but you can create styles, which is basically the preset, and you just create and do it here. That's one I'm going to look into a little more this year as well, just because I think it would help with some of the workflow, especially if there's certain things that I like to shoot. But that about does it for an edit, and thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you out, and if it did, please press the like button, maybe leave a comment about things maybe you want to know about Darktable a little more, and consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell for any time I post a video. I don't just do things on Darktable, I'm going to do things on other pieces of equipment too. I've actually got a Fujifilm Instax camera I want to do a review on, and if that's something you're interested in, it might be good to subscribe. But I appreciate you staying through the entire video here, and you're really valuable to me, and I hope you have a great day. Oh, and I'll see you in the next one.